This is partly inspired, or mainly inspired by some very special person I met flying from Athens to Amman right before the whole thing kicked off. So it's about culture. My head is going or pivoting again because of our cats. So do cats have a culture? What is culture? The funny thing is that I started my personal way of trying to figure these things out, doing a study I did most of a degree before I got sick in cultural management, which is basically was I now realize it was a Marxist infested hell of a university level school. So it was messed up in many ways. But the basic principle and some of the sociological things were kind of interesting. And then Tiger is inspecting the room for other cats. I don't know what something happened here, if there's an extra cat in the room. You okay, Tiger? She's definitely the boss cat, and it's like, so do cats have culture? What is this complex thing? I've done other video things like you can call it the reality stack. In terms of complexities, like a tool. This is a tool. Simple tools. Well, you have to have the right methods to use the tools. You normally have a tactic around a tool, or in terms of dealing with things in the way that we need to deal with the future. You'd have a tactic, but the tactic will be ruled by your strategy. And where does the strategy come from? If it's something new like AI, you might think that you need like a new strategy. But I think that anything needs old strategy, like need to be rooted. New strategies have to be rooted in old things. And culture is perhaps the one term you can use. And so because of what is culture? It is the aggregated knowledge of generations, like thousands of years. Like I myself, when I grew up, we used to go on this survey for anything before the Reformation. So I've seen a lot of back into the Bronze Age, Stone Age. Most of it was Viking graves. I've seen a lot of them. So I know how to suss out, is this a natural mound, or is it a Viking mound, or is it a grave, is it that was quite some experience, and it's very relevant now, I think. And I do remember the tail end of the Old Norse culture, like leaving food offerings for the little people when I was 3.5. That first Christmas in that new house. So my parents did that on the prompting of my grandfather. I remember when he came and he was really beaming, and he was like, well, you remember to set some porridge out for the little people now. And the next, or maybe the third year, they didn't do it. So, but I've seen the tail end of it, and I got embroiled in something very old and very complex, very polished off. No, what's the right word? Like very. The Tibetan Buddhist culture is. You got an old Tibetan culture and you got Buddhism, but it's so intertwined that it's almost impossible to tell apart at sometimes. It's very complete. Maybe that's the word. It's a very complete culture. So some years ago, then I started figuring out, like, okay, I've been in Buddhism for a while. I've done a degree in Chinese acupuncture, non-reform, not touched by the communists from Taiwan, mainly. So I started wondering, like, well, I'm in this body. I'm like Norse in this lifetime. So, well, what about that part? You're not supposed to look into it. At least not. You're not supposed to look into it in a independent, natural way. You're not supposed to know anything about it because that's reserved for the academics. Yeah. This is one of the pointers towards leaving was, this is in Sweden, like they literally tried to ban the use of the runes. I'm not sure, maybe it is actually technically banned, but imagine that. The alphabet of your old culture being banned. Well, that's what communism does. That's what Bolsheviks do. And it's taken me until around 10 years ago, I started thinking like maybe I understand some bits of my own culture now, or like more like the trajectory it has taken based on events like the most capable people leaving in the 1800s and all of these things. But the culture is still underlying. I was in the army in half a year in the winter up north, and we did have electricity, we did have fire, like a stove, so we were pretty good off, but I mean, it is like around 40 nights in the depth of the northern winter, no light most of the time, after all. And without my own culture, without growing up in the culture, it would have been very hard to deal with. Teaching these things, I know that like teaching these things like winter warfare to Americans is not, it's hit and miss. The British do it regularly, and they really get the point, they really learn. But then again, maybe it's never the same as being of that culture. Even the most experienced hardcore outdoors people, Norse outdoor people, might not match a Sami person, because they really well, up until recently at least, learned how to cope under extreme circumstances. You need a culture for that. You need a culture for anything. It's maybe more. It's easier to see what the culture is in kind of focused environment like north of the polar circle or in the desert. I don't know. I know nothing about deserts. I grew up feeding camels in the snow, actually. This is the fun, true story. But I don't really know about how to deal with the desert, the heat in desert. This is a tropical country. I mean, this heat is enough for me. But I've realized one thing about the culture here. It's all about not moving too much. It's all about not freaking out. And it's got nothing in this culture is about storing for the winter, because there is no winter. There's always something growing. So, but the risk is to overheat. So you assume that some food will come, and you conserve your strength. You keep yourself cool. I don't even have the words for it because I need to observe these things as a foreigner. But you get into this after many years here. My problem is that I don't walk around them too much. I know that I should stay put in the daytime, but I can never become the same. And vice versa, I think. Or maybe it's a little bit easier to adjust to the cold. But you won't understand the culture. The culture goes so deep. Like when I was growing up in the early 70s, there were still people around who, let's say someone who was 90 in 1970, I mean, they were born during a time where people still could starve to death during the winter. And I've seen beds that were in use up until quite recently. They were short. They didn't even stretch completely out. They were always sitting, halfway sitting, sleeping in their beds. Well, it's an interesting thing that this is still done in Tibetan retreats. Like you literally sit in a box for 3 years. You sleep sitting up. And in the old times, in the Norse culture, you knew that you'd run out of food towards the tail end of the winter, and you knew these things. So, sitting in the bed, you consume less energy. I guess people knew how to get into different mind states and these things. So, but a desert. So Dune, that fantastic series of movies now, like I never touched Dune. I should read the books, but watching those movies, it's like this fictional universe really gets it. Around deserts is like, and what culture is, the complexity of it, the strength of it, the flexibility, and someone in their right natural setting who have grown up in that culture, and maybe part of it is genetical too. I don't believe in the brain creates consciousness at all. It's a transceiver for consciousness, but maybe the body has more like of a memory, a genetical memory. So that series of movies is just fascinating because it really gets it. It really gets very complex things like culture for trade, culture for warfare. It's like some of it is horrible, of course. The culture of divination and female power, not not feminism, but the real thing. It's amazing. And how you can, I need to study Frank Herbert, like the person. How can you get that deep into understanding how important culture is? So we've seen, like the West, because maybe this is because of the rapid advancement of technology, like for whatever reason. Well, I do think that we know the reasons. The scientific method and the engineering methods that are in some ways more important emerged from thousands of years of honing the skills that you might need when you live in a very hostile, cold area of the world. There are other cold areas of the world where you haven't got the same, so there is a cultural component here. You're not supposed to talk about it, which is another clue. Where did I plan to go with that? So maybe you got this type of arrogance, especially with the US and the European Union, like this neo-communist project, is literally insanity. This is kind of the antithesis of it's synthetic culture. It's an attempt to build a culture that is an attempt at building what the Soviet Union wanted to achieve, like this new Soviet man. This is what it is. Like these scientists, like these climates. It's the same as Lysenko. Especially since you're not allowed to even think that thought. There's a clue there. So the West is blind to its own elements of its own culture that is wrecking itself, and it's also blind to other cultures that are foreign and in a totally different environment. Is this not why the US really had no chance at all on taking on Vietnam? This is what we're seeing right now. I'm gonna fly tomorrow. I'm gonna go to the airport and I'm gonna fly through the Middle East, and I mean, it's safe for now, but I spent a lot of time trying to understand what's going on, peering behind the curtain, because I know that my own personal freedom and survival depend on me getting it right. And this thing about seeing the cultures has been very helpful. I think you can say you have organic cultures built on climate, types of vegetation, like geographical areas. Then you have like internet culture. The whole freedom movement is sort of a culture. You have this thing, Bitcoin culture. The information space, like the actual information you get, is... I take in a lot of very complex takes on the geopolitical situation from a lot of very capable thinkers that are capable of running through complex models. And I take note of those who get their predictions right, and I try to merge it all together for myself. And it takes a lot of... It's really time consuming. Sometimes it is frustrating beyond belief, because I know where things are going and I have to stay put. That's changing now. I did visit my own culture in this lifetime, which is a wreck that has been devastated, but I behaved as if I was in the 80s. That was interesting. You find some old and new people, younger and older, that feel really refreshed that someone is coming and just telling them the obvious, which they know, and they know, but they know they can't talk about it. This is not the European values and culture to ban speech and to ban thinking. That should not be. This is not European at all, after all, if there is a European common culture. So, when I migrated here, I did study these things as deeply as I could. Because of what happened in 2020, I kind of had to pull it back a little. Instead of, I started learning the alphabet and these things right before it hit. My plan was to go super deep and to totally forget about my own past in this lifetime. Would that have been possible? I see people who are like truly so-called integrated, or I see people who are very deep compared to me. But they are ultimately always outsiders, which is fine. I don't complain about that. I think it's the way it should be. So where do I go personally from this? Well, some of these videos will be about technical stuff. Some of it will be... I just put everything out there to make the new connections and hone the subjects I need to have as talking points, so that I'm up to dealing with anything. I enjoy improvising based on years of condensing thoughts and crunching complexity down into snap decisions. I know that's possible. And I thrive on those kind of challenges. In a different world, my businesses and things might have become huge successes because of this. I honestly think that what we did, if it was 20 years earlier, or especially 30 years earlier, I think we would have been solid. I didn't realize the depth of the core is rotten. Well, I do realize that now, and I've seen these new cultures that are being built, like Bitcoin and these things, as something I can finally talk about for practical reasons. I haven't been able to do that earlier. But all of those are nothing without the real thing. So that is why I really look forward to, if I survive the next year or 2 or 3 or 5, 10, that's stretching it. Well, I'll do my damned best. I do look forward to doing these deep dives, and I'm not thinking of deep dives in terms of actually learning the language and studying like a ton. I'm more thinking of the type of deep dive that I've done driving here. Like, I have not even once read through all of the traffic rules and regulations. I consider that as a dangerous thing to do, because the only thing that counts is what people actually do. What are the actual rules? And they are somewhat different, to put it mildly. No problem. The same attitude is something that I think is very healthy to have. What is the actual culture? What's the actual deeper levels to the people you meet, the situation you end up in, especially if you do a nomadic... I'm a nomadic prepper, I think. Even within my own culture, I would have to go deeper into subcultures. Like, I've had my own boat for 20 years. If I end up back in where I was born, I'll get a sailboat again, and my plan is very clear. Get a sailboat early in the year. Could be now. Could happen this year, if not next. Sail along the coast. People are relatively sane out on the sea. You don't last long if you're delusional. Especially if you're sailing, or if you have like an old big fishing vessel or whatever. So there's this in group. Yeah. But I also do hope that I can see more of Europe, especially the unruly areas, and going back to the inspiration I got here. So I do hope that I can see Serbia, because I am pretty sure that there is so much that is misunderstood, falsified. I do want to see other countries, like I want to see the pyramids in Croatia. I've been to Croatia once. I was a skipper at a couple of trips 20 years ago. I want to see southern Italy. I want to see Sicily, unruly. Bulgaria is interesting, especially now after the election. I did stay in Hungary quite a bit. I had 18 trips, maybe 18 months in total with my ex. That many years ago. So that was interesting. I guess it changed a lot now. Pockets, rural areas, woodland, mountains. I got an old contact in Slovenia who's running a very successful agency that I want to ping. got this T-shirt here with the Slovenian mountains on from this open source conference. So I want to see those mountains or whatever, but no big cities, no. This is the point. Get away from the technocratic madness and meet genuine people who live in their own intact cultures and learn how to behave well or not too well. To behave as a natural guest. We had this tiny raid trying to sell the gold coin in Kathmandu. You're not supposed to bring gold coins in. I forgot that. So fun story. I actually got some help. I never thought I would have it in me to get that past customs after they took it off me, but they liked me, and I said the right things, and I didn't say any of the wrong things. You can find odd helpers in the strangest situations and places when you know how to deal with people. And so we had this raid trying to sell it, and like no one wants to admit to the fact that it could have any value, even if it's like a quarter of a Kruger rand. So we had this tiny raid where we were looking for the old ones, the old gold shop owners, and we found one tiny one, and they tried to tell me that it's not real money, and I was like, come on, guys, you don't know anything about money if you think this is not money. I mean, come on, this is Nepal, didn't you? This is a gold store. I was pushing him around a little bit, and then I turned into being very, very grateful and polite, because they helped me assess some other tiny ones that a new friend bought from me, so he knew it was genuine after talking to him. Like, this is like this kind of banter thing. I had the same happening in Egypt. I've only spent 5 nights there, but I have this fire in me coming from Nepal, and without that fire it would have been a nightmare, I think. But you can meet. They are fiery, so you can be fiery back. So you do it with a glimmer in the eye. So I want to see these things, and I want to see more of these things, these settings where, not like an extreme sport. I don't want to. Maybe I'll go to. Why not go to Afghanistan? It's safe. It's probably safer. I'm going to Copenhagen soon. My flight is to Copenhagen. I'm going to travel through Denmark. No one takes me on the streets normally, but if I were to go to southern Sweden, it would certainly be more dangerous than Afghanistan. Who knows where I'm going to go? It's not the extreme sport. It's the just working with people on the ground and just being clear that I'm just someone passing through, and I hope to stay here for longer if I'm allowed, and if I'm kind of accepted as a nomadic guest. And I think that is all. I think that is all that I can get out of the rest of this lifetime. Is obviously I want to come back to my wife and our cats, but that's going to be periodically, and I do need to keep some contact with my original culture, and I want to explore these things while building some new income and business and whatever, all of it. And I need to be ready to wiggle my way in anywhere if I need to, when things fall apart. Buddhism is a great help there, not directly, but maybe having some experience with states of mind that is not about thinking at all, where there is no conventional thinking, is a help in understanding other cultures, because that is an integral part of any natural culture, I think. I don't know, but I need to explore that too, I think. That's it for now. So anything that I do will be within this. Like I will always be searching for the cultural layer. I will always be searching for the deeper meaning, the deeper understanding, and yeah, I'm gonna judge people and locations on that, not the. Yeah, I'm gonna rank them as well. Of course, you're not supposed to do that. So of course, I'll do that. And the Norse rule. Simple as that. Good luck.